Hey everyone, welcome back to another video from A Man Talks FPL SC. Today we're going through the Gameweek 9 team selection and a brief overview of how I went in Gameweek 8. So of course, if you enjoyed the video, really appreciate a thumbs up, really does help the channel out. Definitely do subscribe as well if you want to see more content throughout the season, but let's get into it. So a quick recap of how we went in Gameweek 8. We scored 58 total points, which coming off the wild card, maybe not the best outcome, but it was a small green arrow. So I'm still very thankful that I did get some rank increase. It was really the defenders and Salah who came through for me in this game week. We can see Ramsdale only got the 2 points there. He did make quite a few good saves actually in that game against Crystal Palace, especially that one against Conor Gallagher. And so obviously conceding the 2 goals, not a great outcome considering we also moved on Sanchez, who did get the clean sheet, but obviously the goalkeeper is a long-term selection, and I'm still confident that with that good shot stopping ability he can produce some good points moving forward. As I mentioned, the defenders, so Trent, Cancelo, Shane Duffy and Livramento all chipping in with a clean sheet. Really happy to see that. Reece James, a little bit disappointing that he was coming off the bench. He was my main punt, I think, on the wild card. I could have stuck with Azpilicueta. I could have gone for a Chilwell. Chilwell, in hindsight, probably maybe was the better selection, as we do know that Reece James has a tendency to come off the bench for these 1 point cameos. I wasn't aware of that, but I thought he had a little bit more security potentially on that right-hand side compared to the Chilwell, who's got good competition from a Marcus Alonso. But hopefully he does start against Norwich in the coming game weeks, because we know that he's got really high upside. But yeah, a little bit disappointed that was only the 1 pointer here. Salah, the king, just continues to deliver a goal and assist as captain, so a big 26-point return from him, and nothing else really to speak of in the attack. You know, Mason Mount, as I mentioned, only played the 25 minutes, so only the single point there. Brian hit the woodwork in Buemo. You know, that's 6 times he's now hit the post this season so far, but he has scored 2 goals already to begin the season. It was also a tough matchup against Chelsea, and Brentford attacked looked really good, especially in the last 20 minutes. It was an awesome watch to see. So really happy with Mbeumo moving forward, and probably looking to also add Ivan Toney to the mix here as well. Lukaku blanked again. You know, he did score that goal off, but he was in an offside position, and so he has blanked now 4 weeks in a row. I've only had him for the 1 week, so I'm not too frustrated with him. But it's a great matchup this week against Norwich as well, so hopefully he can deliver. And Antonio, a little bit disappointing. You know, he got that yellow card for simulation, and he obviously had a couple of chances but wasn't able to convert in that game against Everton, so just a single point there. Rafinha, there was a pretty slim chance of him actually playing, so I was expecting to get at least one of my players off the bench. Adam Armstrong, though, was a complete surprise. You know, all the talk was that, you know, he was nailed on for 90 minutes. You know, he'd be playing every game up until this point in the season, and then he just stayed on the bench for the entire game. To be honest, I'm very thankful that he did stay on the bench the entire game, because that let me get my Livramento bench points. If you come on for a 1 point cameo, that would have been really disheartening. But yeah, big surprise that he wasn't able to play. So if anyone is a Southampton fan, would be really interested to know why that was the case. He was a bit of a punt as well on the wild card. If it happens again that he is benched, he definitely will probably be someone that we will move on moving forward. But I think I'm more than happy to give it a week as well, just to see if that does happen again. But in total, as I mentioned, we scored 58 points. It was a small rank increase to about 235k. So we're sitting in a pretty decent position still overall. I think it's good to get a green arrow from the wild card. As you might have seen on the previous screen, I have got 2.7 million in the bank, which is basically my Heung-min Son fund, because obviously he returned a positive test for COVID, so I had to take him out of the wildcard squad. Turned out to be actually a false positive, and he was fine to play, and obviously he just had to score and get 9 points there. Really, you know, that was probably the saddest part about the wildcard. You know, you guys know that I was very big on Heung-min Son, so not seeing him in the wildcard is really disheartening, and then he gets 9 points as well. But we've got the funds to do like a straight swap with someone like a Mason Mount, so that will be the plan moving forward. But let's take a look now what I'm planning to do for Game Week 9. So in Game Week 9, not really looking to make any transfers. Obviously, we have got some slight issues in the likes of Adam Armstrong. You know, if Mason Mount and Reece James are again benched, that will be something that is a bit concerning, but I'm going to roll them out for this week against Norwich. It's a prime matchup. You know, Trent and Cancelo did play the full 90 minutes in the Champions League. He did score a goal as well, but he has played every game up until this point in the season. If he doesn't play, we'll get Livramento probably off the bench, or a Shane Duffy, but Shane Duffy, obviously Man City is not a great matchup, but that's what the bench is there for. Midfielder Salah, Rafinha, Mount and Mbeumo, I really like that. Obviously Salah is in supreme form. There's no way he's leaving the team, probably until the African Cup of Nations. Rafinha, great matchup this week in Wolves, but also in Norwich next game week. Mason Mount, this is definitely also a bit of a punt. I'd say Mason Mount, Antonio and Armstrong are probably the 3 players who I'm looking in the wildcard squad who I'm going to want to change around moving forward. I'll get into some kind of transfer plans a little bit later in the video, but definitely those 3 I think are the ones who moving forward in the short to medium term I will be looking to change up, and the other guys are probably more of your glue picks. I also haven't fully decided whether I should be playing Adam Armstrong or I should be playing Livramento. At the moment I've got Armstrong, but there probably is a good possibility that I do actually roll out Livramento instead, given that we know that he is playing the 90 minutes and it's a home matchup against Burnley. So the chances of a clean sheet are pretty good because Burnley's not the best attack. And say if Armstrong is benched again and there is a potential risk for him to do like a late cameo just for a 1-pointer, I definitely wouldn't want that. So I probably would favour in playing Livramento. So that probably is going to be a likely swap that I will actually do in my final team. Yeah, looking to bank the transfer because I think going into game week 10 with 2 transfers, helping me get in the likes of an Ivan Toney if say Armstrong or Antonio continue to blank, definitely gives me in a good position. And also having the 2 transfers will help down the line in bringing back Heung-min Son. Now, I think the final decision for the team is also going to be around captaincy. I think the decision between Mo Salah and Lukaku, it's a really, really strong debate as to which one do you go for. It's a classic form versus fixture. Mo Salah's got the form, and you could argue potentially the fixture. Manchester United have not been the best defensively. I think statistically in the past 4 game weeks, I think they're actually 19th in the league for expected goals conceded. So they've been very, very leaky at the back. They've only kept the 1 clean sheet so far this season, and that was against Wolves, and even that was pretty lucky to get the clean sheet there. So they haven't been very good at the back. They still don't have Varane, I believe, for this game week as well. And Mo Salah and Liverpool, best attack in the league. So he could be a fantastic captaincy option versus the fixture of Romelu Lukaku. He's blanked 4 weeks in a row now, but he's got Norwich at home, which you could probably argue is the single best fixture for any attacker. And I want to also highlight, if people are also deliberating this decision, I'm someone who sometimes thinks that fixtures do breed the form. An example I would say, even in my own team a few weeks back, was Ismail Assar. I brought him in, he had blanked 3 weeks in a row, but as soon as he was playing Norwich, he scored a brace and got 15 points, and then he versus Newcastle and gets another goal, scoring the 9 points. I think that's happened with a few other players like Aubameyang as well. Hadn't scored that many goals. He plays Norwich and then he scores. So I think, the fixtures can generate the form. Norwich have kept 2 clean sheets in the past 2 games. I think they have moved to a back 3, which might be helping them out. But those 2 games were also against Brighton and Burnley. Not the 2 best attacking teams. Coming up against a Chelsea, who probably are the 3rd or 4th best attacking team, behind like a City and a Liverpool. I think they could very easily score, 2 or 3 goals. It's a little bit harder to see them having a big, 4-5-0 score. That's probably what I would expect from like a City or a Liverpool. But I still think even if they do score 2 or 3 goals, there is a good chance that Lukaku is going to be involved in that. And the way I determine my captaincy, I try to just go for the premium player who's got the best fixture on paper. And for me, that's Lukaku. And so at the moment, I am leaning towards Romelu Lukaku as my captain and Salah as the vice. I'll have to give it some extra thought, but at the moment, this is how I'm leaning and probably is the way I'm going to be going. And as I mentioned there, probably Livramento, I think, will likely come into the squad in replacement of an Adam Armstrong. But so that's going to be the team, how I'm going to set up for Game Week 9. What I will actually get into now as well is my future transfer plans for the next 2 or 3 game weeks, as I am looking to bring in the likes of Heung-min Son and even a Harry Kane potentially down the line. Alright, so I've just got live FPL open up on my second screen here just to show you what my plans are going to be roughly for the next 2 or 3 game weeks. I kind of did this with my wildcard draft, but given that's changed now with the likes of Mason Mount, etc., I thought it'd be useful to revisit this as well. So this is how the team is setting up for Game Week 9. Probably will play Livramento in that back 4, and so pretty strong lineup, and having Lukaku as a captain, I think hopefully should deliver against Norwich. If he can't score against Norwich, then I probably wouldn't captain him again, and maybe Salah does return, but I'm willing to probably take that chance at the moment. And as I mentioned, probably looking to bank the transfer to have the 2 free transfers into the next game week. And you can see there, I've got 2.7 mil in the bank, so that's a lot of money to be playing with moving forward. So switching over now to game week 10, you can see there, hopefully we have the 2 free transfers, 2.7 mil in the bank, so a lot of money to play around with. Again, looking at the team, it's pretty well set up. You've got Ramsdale against Leicester, not too bad, but the defenders are looking really, really good. Midfield is looking strong. Salah probably could be the captain, otherwise it could be Lukaku, who's away to Newcastle, haven't made that decision yet. And obviously you've still got Adam Armstrong against Watford. This is when Brentford come into a really good run of fixtures. You can see there, if I scroll up just a little bit, this is when they get into Burnley, Norwich, Newcastle and Everton. And so I think a double up in the Brentford attack along with Mbeumo, getting in Ivan Toney, the penalty taker, I think it's going to be a really, really solid move. And so I think likely what's going to happen if Armstrong, doesn't play again, is benched, he's very easily going to be going to Ivan Toney. I've got the money in the bank, obviously, to do that. So I would bring in Toney here. I probably would put Livramento back on the bench. Obviously a very, very good first sub coming up against Watford. That would be how we would be looking for Game Week 10. Just be the 1 transfer. It could be 2.3 mil in the bank. Obviously, if either of them go up or down in price, I might change a little bit, but approximately we'll have that much amount of money, and it'll just be the 1 free transfer, as I would look to roll that one again as well into Game Week 11. And so now taking a look at game week 11, we would have again 2 free transfers and about 2.3, 2.2 mil in the bank, pending whatever price changes happen with the likes of Tony and Armstrong. And this is where we have a little bit of a tougher fixtures for some of the players. Obviously, we've got Man City versus United, so Cancelo has got a bit of a tougher fixture. Trent has got West Ham, so the likes of a clean sheet could be a little bit lower, but we have got some good attackers there in the likes of Mason Mount against Burnley, Lukaku against Burnley, Tony against Norwich as well. Antonio against Liverpool. This gives us an opportunity to see in the next couple of weeks how Antonio is performing with these slightly tougher fixtures, because he hasn't been the best, or he hasn't been as good as he was at the beginning of the season. And I think from game week 11, when West Ham go into a pretty tough run of games, you can see that Liverpool, Wolves, Man City, Brighton, and then it's Chelsea after that. That's a 5-game run that I'm really not going to want too many, I think, West Ham attackers. Antonio is obviously such a good asset that he can score in any game. But I think at that point in time, I probably would try to jump on a striker who has got some better fixtures, and also create a little bit of extra funds to help get to the likes of Heung-min Son. And so playing around with it, I think doing the calculations, I think I needed a striker who was around 7.3 mil or cheaper. So obviously this is the issue with planning so far forward, is that if any of these kind of price changes happen, obviously your plans can go out the window, but that's my rough plan at the moment. So a striker around the 7.3 million price bracket, someone like Iheanacho is really, really interesting me. This also gives us an opportunity to see how he's, if he's actually staying in the team, and if Brendan Rodgers sticks to this 3-5-2 system, because I think if so, then Iheanacho is a great FPL asset. If we see there, just quickly looking at the fixtures for Leicester from that period of time are not that bad. They've got Leeds in that particular game week, which I think is obviously a much better matchup than Liverpool for Antonio. Chelsea at home the week after that is pretty tough. But then you've got Watford, Southampton and Villa. So I think those next 5, excluding that Chelsea game, are pretty good, and he's currently at 7.0. So he would have the budget and obviously a little bit of a buffer to bring in someone like Iheanacho. Callum Wilson is always someone who interests me because he's just a very, very solid FPL asset. He's priced at 7.3 mil exactly, and he's got Brighton, Brentford, Arsenal, but then he's got Norwich and Burnley. So he has got some pretty good games thrown in there with some slightly tough ones, you could say, in maybe like Brighton or Brentford. So Wilson could be an option, or we could even go for a St. Maximin as well. We could even go for someone like Ollie Watkins. So if we quickly look at Watkins' fixtures there, he's got Southampton, Brighton, Crystal Palace, Man City and Leicester. So there are some tougher games in there, but he could also be an option. But let's say I decide to go for an Iheanacho, bring him in for an Antonio, and that's how we would line up for game week 11. Obviously, I still have one free transfer at this point in time. There's around 3.1 mil in the bank. So, I very easily could still, if Mason Mount is really disappointing me and I just don't want him anymore, I do have the funds to actually go from him straight to a Heung-min Son. You can see that 10.5 mil in the bank. So that does have some allowance, in terms of Son going up in price, because I imagine people are going to want to bring him in over the next few weeks, because you can see there from game week 12 they've got Leeds, Burnley, Brentford and Norwich. It's a great month ahead of for Spurs in that period of time. So someone like Son, I think a lot of people are going to want to jump on. And so I could even do the move in that particular game week. Say if the budget was very, very tight and I was going to be priced out the week after, I could do it in that particular week. But Mason Mount, if he's going along well, he's still got Burnley in that particular game week, so I don't necessarily have to make the move. And in this case, Salah could be the captain, but it could be also Lukaku coming up against Burnley. And then finally, now we're up to game week 12, so 2 free transfers, 3.1 mil approximately in the bank. This is when Spurs go into their really, really strong run of games. So Heung-min Son, who I've spoken about plenty of times, I love the guy, I want him in my team at this point in time. He can fit in there pretty easily, and that leaves 0.4 mil in the bank. Now, Harry Kane, obviously someone, if you wanted to double up, you could also go for him. At this point in time, Chelsea's fixtures aren't as easy as what they have been recently. So you would have Leicester, Manchester United, Watford and then West Ham. So it's a little bit tougher than what they're currently going to experience. And so, you could take out the likes of Lukaku and could go for Harry Kane, who's so 12.1 I would have in the bank. So this is the problem with this plan at the moment, is that this is actually exact money. This is 0.0 in the bank to make these transfers work. But that would be then how I could get the likes of Harry Kane and Heung-min Son into the team. Probably would captain, Harry Kane in this game week, playing Leeds at home. Salah, obviously against Arsenal, could still be a very, very good captain option, but I think Son and Kane have a slightly better fixture. So anyway, that's my long-winded transfer plan up until around game week 12. So this is how I'm looking to shape up the team for the next few game weeks. And my rough plan at the moment to bring in Heung-min Son and Harry Kane for their really nice fixture run coming up from game week 12. So that's it, guys. That is a Game Week 9 team selection. Hopefully you guys found that useful in me going through my kind of rough transfer plans and my thoughts around the team for the next few game weeks. So if you did, really appreciate a thumbs up. Do please consider subscribing to the channel as well. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I read all your comments and I try to get back to you all just before the deadline. So good luck for Game Week 9 if I don't post anything else up until the deadline, and I'll see you all in the next video.